On entrepreneurship. Throughout this chapter, I've emphasized the idea that your learning center should be tuition-free. While this is a great goal, it's also true that having money can give you access to more resources. What if your learning center needs additional computers? Or you decide you want to add a music room to the library? Or most importantly, you want to create some process or system for transportation to bring people to your new learning center. Some of your goals may not be achievable simply by using free public resources. There are multiple methods of accessing funds to support your learning center, like getting involved in local politics to advocate for increased funding for community facilities like the library, or holding fundraisers to bring in funding for the facilities you are using, like the library. While these approaches are worthwhile and can potentially be successful, be aware that they will involve some amount of collaboration with other individuals and groups that are likely made up of adults. If the adults in your community are open to collaborating with you to help fundraise, that is great. Unfortunately, that is not always the case, and there are risks you should be aware of. When you're in the role of an underrepresented group, like teenagers are, collaborating with people in power, like adults, can sometimes be problematic. The power imbalance can lead to those in power having leverage over you. You can imagine a situation where you are collaborating with the library for a fundraiser, where you and other teens put in all the effort to promote and run the fundraiser, and the library ends up controlling how the money you've raised gets spent. This shouldn't completely discourage you from collaborating, but it's important to be aware of these details and to always have other options. You can't depend on those in power to empower you. Fortunately, there are countless options for earning money through entrepreneurship, which Wikipedia defines as the process of designing, launching, and running a new business, reference 209. This may sound overwhelming, just as the idea of opening your own learning center sounds overwhelming at first. But if you break it down into what this definition really means, it's quite simple. Starting a business just means selling a product or service to earn money. I would argue that even though it's not a business, starting your own learning center is already an entrepreneurial act. While some people argue that entrepreneurship must be a profit-driven business, I like to define entrepreneurship as taking a risk to solve a problem that nobody told you to solve. This may be in the form of starting a family-owned restaurant, going door-to-door, shoveling driveways in the winter, beginning a political movement in your local region, or even being an artist looking to earn a living while sharing their work with the world. In my opinion, making money is not always the end goal, but it is a byproduct which can help you amplify your impact. For example, I want this app to reach as many teens as possible. Since not all teens have access to money, making the app free seems like the best way to reach a large audience. However, by charging money, I then have revenue coming in from selling the app, which allows me to spend money on advertising. Being able to advertise the app can allow me to reach far more teens than if I simply posted it for free in the App Store without any promotion. To fulfill my mission of making self-directed learning affordable and accessible to everyone, I will still need to find a way to make this content accessible to those who cannot afford it. Accessibility is a massive challenge. Even if this app were free, it still wouldn't be accessible to people who cannot afford a smartphone. Even creating a free YouTube channel with all of this content, which would require a lot more time and energy than an audiobook app, would still exclude teens who don't have reliable high-speed internet access. As you can see, this is a marathon, not a sprint, and financial resources are just one of the sources of fuel that's needed to endure this long journey. Entrepreneurship requires you to find ways of accomplishing your goals with limited resources. Many times, the two resources you are managing are time and money. Depending on how much time and money you have will dictate your decision-making. In the case of this app, I spent a lot of time writing the book, and I paid someone a small amount of money to code the app. This made sense for me, because I needed to do the work which I couldn't hire anyone else to do, whereas there are many web developers who could build this basic app at a reasonable price. Since I run a web development business, I also have access to web developers that can do good work at a discounted price than most would be paying. You can also find innovative ways to leverage your time and limited funds to accomplish your goals. For example, If you want to build a music room at the library, maybe you can get local businesses to donate the materials and loan you some tools. But you and your peers can put in the hours of labor to do the work. Or maybe none of the businesses are willing to donate materials, but you can find a local sponsor to pay for the materials in exchange for you naming the room after them. For example, Dave's Guitar Store Music Room. The director of the co-working space I worked out of in Northampton, Massachusetts, Mary Yun, used this tactic to help fund the construction of one of their meeting rooms. In exchange for giving the co-working space a discount on a massive glass sliding door for the meeting room, A.W. Hastings & Company got to put their logo on the main doorway entering the room, which is called the Hastings Room. Hastings employees also get to use the meeting room for a few hours each week for the next 3 years. Now, Hastings has their brand in front of countless businesses that enter the space and even ended up with a shout-out in this audiobook. One similar suggestion, which comes from Margaret Lobenstein's book, The Renaissance Soul, reference 210, which I highly recommend, is to get a part-time job that gives you access to free resources. For example, let's say you find yourself printing a lot of flyers or documents, and the library is charging you more than you can afford. Maybe you could get a job 1 day a week in an office environment doing administrative work like filing papers, and they might let you have access to their printer for your own purposes. This may not match up with your specific needs, but can be adapted to whatever your needs are. Remember, being a self-directed entrepreneur is all about being resourceful and creative to accomplish your goals. Negotiating deals to avoid having to pay for things is a great tactic, but there will ultimately be situations where you need money, and you should know how to earn it. If your experience in public school is anything like mine, at no point in your entire education did anyone teach you how to make money. Even if you go to college, you'll likely never have anyone teach you how to make money. At best, you learn how to signal to an employer that you are suited to be hired for a job, but you never learn how to actually sell a product or a service. This is a serious gap in our education system, and one which must be filled through more self-directed activity. Entrepreneurship can only be taught effectively if someone has an actual business, nonprofit, or project they are actively working on. Fortunately, through becoming a self-directed learner, you are developing the kind of take-action skills that all entrepreneurs need to be successful. In contrast, employees at companies are much like students. They need someone to tell them what to do and give them their next assignment. Entrepreneurs are self-directed. They have the challenge of steering the ship and making the decisions that make businesses money. To inspire some action, I will provide a few ways for you to earn money, though you should be as innovative and as creative as possible in coming up with your own ideas. You should also keep in mind that ideas are only as good as their execution. For example, when I was a teen, going door to door, shoveling snow off driveways was one way for me to earn some extra money in the winter. This may not work in a southern state where it doesn't snow or in a city where everyone lives in apartments. Even in Connecticut, my home state, shoveling snow was not always a reliable source of income. We would have some winters with several heavy snowfalls, and some winters we would only have one snowstorm. Ideas really are a dime a dozen. It is the details of the execution that determine whether an idea gets results. After all, there were many portable MP3 players on the market years before the iPod became a massive success. Let's use shoveling driveways as a more accessible example. If you wake up the day after a snowstorm, grab a shovel, and go door to door offering to shovel people's driveways for money, you'll probably spend a lot more time walking the streets and ringing doorbells than actually shoveling snow. You will be limited in how much you can earn in one day based on this slow sales process. You have a narrow window of time after the storm ends where you can earn money, and you are stuck splitting your time between doing the two jobs of selling the job and providing the service. If instead, you planned your snow shoveling service in advance by putting out flyers in public locations such as on your neighbor's mailboxes, the library, laundromat, post office, or coffee shop, you could line up a ton of clients in advance before the snow ever falls. Then, when a snowstorm did arrive, you'd know exactly how many people's driveways you had to shovel, and you'd know exactly how much money you were going to earn for completing the work. With this knowledge, you could probably afford to hire other people to do the actual shoveling. The exact same idea of shoveling snow for money could make far more money when executed differently. To take this one step further, once you have customers who are paying you to shovel their driveways, you could then offer to provide related services in other seasons. You could mow their lawn in the summer and rake leaves in the fall. Maybe they even have a pool you can clean or a car you can wash and wax for them. Now you'd have an all-year-round business, and you've already done a lot of the hard work of gaining customers for the snow shoveling. Building relationships is a huge part of business, as these relationships can lead to unexpected opportunities. I found when I started building websites for a living that it took a lot of time and effort to go after my first clients. Once I built a handful of websites for people, then they started coming to me asking if I could help market and promote their websites. Even though I never pitched myself as a marketer, because I had relationships with these clients that I built through doing excellent work, they hired me for this related work. Suddenly, I was making a lot more money because I wasn't spending a lot of unpaid time trying to hunt down new clients. I mentioned washing and waxing cars as a possible business. Washing cars is a fundraising tactic I've seen many youth groups make money at. Just like if you are operating a lemonade stand, you should find a high-traffic location near a busy street to set up your car wash. Maybe there is a local business who would partner with you to allow you to use their parking lot for the day. Be sure to put up large signs so people know that you are running a car wash fundraiser. It's your job to make sure that everyone who drives by understands what you are doing. You can't expect them to read your mind. Again, execution and careful planning is the key to success. Letting people know you are raising money for an educational purpose will make them more willing to help. To be perfectly honest, I get less enthusiastic about contributing to fundraisers when I don't feel like the purpose is meaningful. I don't get as excited about donating money to get new uniforms for the baseball team or paying for the cheerleading squad to go to a competition somewhere across the country. While these are certainly fun activities that I hope people pursue, they feel like a luxury, and I don't feel nearly as inspired to help out as when someone tells me they're raising money to build a music room or buy musical instruments. To me, I feel better supporting a cause that empowers someone to do something they couldn't previously do at all, as opposed to enhancing a previously existing experience. There are many more ideas for business opportunities for teens. When I was running Open Source High, I surveyed the teens who participated and asked how they made money and heard some creative stories. One memorable story was of a teen named Jacob who started a small carpet cleaning company. On one ordinary day, Jacob's dad rented a carpet cleaner from the local supermarket in order to clean the carpets in their apartment. His father suggested Jacob could earn money cleaning carpets and explained that since high-powered carpet cleaners are expensive to purchase, people typically hire professional carpet cleaners or they rent the equipment for 24 hours and clean the carpets themselves. Jacob took this idea and ran with it. He printed off business cards advertising his own carpet cleaning service and posted them all over his local laundromat and on the door of every unit in his apartment building. His phone started ringing with potential customers. He would schedule 4 to 5 customers in his area to clean their carpets every Saturday, allowing him to rent a carpet cleaner for just 1 day per week to do all the work. This is a perfect example of limiting costs while maximizing profit. Jacob also earned some money for his videography work. Not only did he earn several $100s in the contests we ran on Open Source High, but I also hired him to create some animations for the Voices for Choices video series I produced for Mind Freedom International, reference 211 and 212. Another great story I heard came from a pair of teens with a passion for film who made money by filming house tours for real estate agents. They offered to make one free video for their clients as an example, and the realtors would use it to promote the home they were selling. This proved the value of their work to their clients. Then, the teens charged for all future videos. The money they earned creating videos for the realtors enabled the teens to purchase more film equipment to advance their passion for film. As you might expect, having better equipment also meant the quality of their work for the real estate agents also improved, which allowed them to charge more money. I know many teens who make money by babysitting. 2 of my nieces did this throughout college, and I learned they were able to charge more money just by calling themselves a nanny instead of a babysitter. Additionally, if you can present yourself as a specialist in some way, you can charge more money. For example, I met a teen at Not Back to School camp who was fluent in American Sign Language. By offering to be a nanny who specialized in working with hearing impaired youth, she could charge a lot more money than a regular nanny. If you have a unique skill, such as horseback riding, golf, painting, playing piano, or some other interest, you can also present yourself as a nanny who focuses on this skill. Though she's not a teen, my friend Beth calls herself the dive nanny and gets paid to go on vacations with families and take the kids scuba diving. Reference 213. You can also offer to teach lessons without being a nanny at all. For example, when I was in high school, I used to tutor a few younger students in math. To find students to tutor, I contacted the schools in town and asked to be added to their list of available math tutors. In hindsight, I probably could have found more students to tutor if I put up flyers around town, since then I wouldn't have to compete with all the other people on their school tutor lists. Don't limit yourself to only tutoring or teaching younger people. If you know how to play the piano, you don't only have the capacity to teach a young child. Why can't you teach a 75-year-old to do the same? Once you've got an idea for how to make money, your biggest challenge is probably going to be getting customers. I mentioned earlier that after developing my web development skills creating the Open Source High website, I started earning a living building websites, but I never shared the secret to how I found my first clients. Justin Wilcox, who runs CustomerDevLabs.com, suggests your first customers will be people that fit 3 criteria. 1, they have a problem. 2, they know they have a problem. And 3, they are actively looking for a solution to their problem. This may seem silly or obvious, but it's important. For example, there are many people who have bad websites, but they don't know it. That's not a good customer. There are also a lot of people who know they have a bad website, but have too many other priorities, so they're not actively looking for a new website. That's also not a good customer. The best customer for me is someone who has a bad website, knows it's bad, and is looking right this second to find someone to build a new one. To find these people, I went to the Craigslist gigs section and searched under computer services for people looking for help with their websites. I was able to search any city in the whole country to see who had recently posted a request looking for a web designer or web developer. I knew that there would be tons of other programmers like me replying to these ads, many of whom send automated copy and pasted emails replying to every single ad. I differentiated myself by writing short and simple emails that made it clear to people that I was a human being. Here is a sample of one of my first emails. Subject: Still need a web developer? ? Hi, I have been building websites since I was 12 years old and would be happy to help with your site. You can see links to a lot of the projects I've worked on at flantascience.com. The current project I am devoting my time to is Open Source High, a peer-to-peer learning community for high school students. So if you know any high school students or teachers, please spread the word. Feel free to email me back or call me at my phone number. I look forward to speaking with you. Jim. As I mentioned, if building websites interests you, I have tutorials on my personal website, jim-flannery.com, that teach people how to build websites. There are lots of opportunities to make money online that extend beyond just building websites. Nowadays, many companies also need help with managing their social media accounts. One of the teens who was part of Open Source High currently runs social media accounts for some of my clients. Search engine optimization, or SEO, is another great space young people can explore to earn money. SEO involves helping a business to get their website to rank higher in search engines like Google. Many people mistakenly think SEO is a fancy programming technique that only computer scientists know how to do. In reality, search engine optimization is more related to writing than programming. If you enjoy writing, I highly recommend you search the web for some tutorial videos on search engine optimization and see if it appeals to you. Another way to make money online is to sell products you've made through your own website, eBay, Etsy, or Amazon. One of my best friends, who I mentioned earlier, Brianna, started selling custom-made bookshelves through Etsy as a teenager and has become quite successful at it. If you are an artist, you could also sell branded products featuring your artwork through a site like fineartamerica.com, where they will take your artwork and put it on t-shirts, coffee mugs, blankets, etc., which you can sell. There are a couple of large online marketplaces for finding work. TaskRabbit, reference 214, is one such marketplace, which involves finding work locally. For example, a friend of mine regularly gets paid gigs in his city for assembling furniture for people. There are also global marketplaces for digital services like Fiverr, reference 215, and Upwork, reference 216. I've hired lots of people off these platforms to do logo design, basic coding, graphic design, audio file mastering, business card design, content writing. Even the developer of this app came from Upwork. Another couple of ideas come from famous entrepreneur Mark Cuban, who wrote an article titled Making Money as a Student and suggests selling shoelaces. As Cuban writes, I guarantee that if you go to the parking lot of any high school or college football game with a bunch of shoelaces in team colors that you bought for $2 a pop and put up a sign and 2 chairs, you can make money. Reference 217. In closing this topic of entrepreneurship, I will share with you one endless resource for inspirational ideas. If you do a Google search for Reddit Black Market School or Reddit Make Money as a Teen, you'll find lots of posts with teens asking how to make money. There are endless replies. Many of them are specifically related to making money in school rather than outside of it. But there are so many creative ideas presented, you'll find something that resonates with you. I'll share just a handful of the more interesting ideas here. Haircuts. For a Catholic school run by nuns, hygiene was super strict, so if your hair or nails were long, they would cut it halfway so that you would be embarrassed and have to go get a haircut ASAP. So a couple of the high school kids made a super secret barbershop inside the school behind the dump for broken cars. You have to know the right people and schedule an appointment to get in. Reference 218. I asked my rich friend from school to have his mom advertise me as a babysitter to their uber-rich neighborhood's Facebook group. I get $25 an hour from that on average, and mostly I just played video games with 8-year-olds. One person paid me $35 an hour, but only needed babysitting for a few hours on the weekends. It was the greatest hustle of all time. Reference 219. I noticed a friend of mine was making lots of money by selling chips when our school stopped selling them in vending machines. Selling them was banned and could lead to suspension, but the payout was huge due to demand. I decided to sell myself and would earn $30 every 2 to 3 days. A box of chips would cost $12 and contain 30 bags, so I'd sell them for $1 each. My friend later got busted for selling, and so my supply and demand skyrocketed shortly. That's actually how I ended up understanding how stocks work. Reference 220. My brother sold fidget spinners during the craze, shipped in about 500 from China for 50 cents each, and sold them for like $5 a piece. Reference 221. I went to a private high school with a strict dress code, ties, belt, etc. So I bought a bunch of ties and belts from a thrift store and ran a lucrative rental business out of my locker. Reference 222. Me and my brother would take money to beat all the challenges in GoldenEye 007 for Nintendo 64, so people got all the cheats. The invincibility challenge was the toughest. Reference 223. The only guy in the school whose family had proper TV channels used to tape wrestling events and rent them out. Reference 224. I'm a dishwasher at a Thai restaurant a couple nights a week. Bosses are pretty understanding, so my days are pretty flexible. Reference 225. Window cleaning. I cannot stress enough how much people hate cleaning their windows. From age 16 to 19, I made around $250 a week by cleaning windows. Once I found a proper neighborhood of people unwilling to clean their shit, I had a consistent clientele of about 15 people wanting windows cleaned every couple months. Reference 226. Photos of groups of friends. I'd take pics at lunch and sell yesterday's photos for $5 to $8 of all the little crews and cliques, develop the film in the darkroom during a free period in the afternoon, print the negatives during first or second period photo class, sell the black and white 5x7s or 8x10s during lunch, and take more images. Wash, rinse, repeat. I made hundreds of dollars, if not more. I was a spendthrift. Some adults thought it was drug-related, but no one who actually knew me. My school had 2,000 to 3,000 students. Some kids bought multiple pics. I took pics of couples, but the best were groups of 10 to 15 people. I could make $100 on one image. Reference 227. A kid at my previous school sold those little salt and pepper packets to kids at lunch every day. 50 cents for both. The cafeteria, due to state and federal regulations, didn't season anything, so the food was blander than bland. He made a few $100s over the course of the month. He did this before admin shut him down. Reference 228. I bought those big candy bags at Costco with money I earned mowing lawns. Then I made mix and match bags and sold those. Then I bought those mixed pop flats from Costco and started selling the pops for a little less than you could get from the canteen. Eventually, demand got so big that I had to expand. So I hired a friend of mine to work with me at 10% of her profits for working for me. The rest was hers. We ran that operation until I left. Made good money with it. Reference 229. All right, let's move on.